A shadow dances beneath the glass, a cello, a toast, and a bet. What happens when Miami's elite find the dignity that serves in silence? This is the story of Valentina Quiroga, and the night music became justice. The stage is set in the heart of Coral Gables. The elegance of the Biltmore Hotel is merely the backdrop for a much deeper drama, where arrogance has a price and talent knows no class boundaries. Prepare to witness how a simple waitress can silence a room of millionaires with the power of a single note. The Biltmore's lights transform each guest into a rare jewel. The Del Rio Foundation celebrates, and the champagne flows like water. However, true luxury lies in the invisibility of those who work. Valentina Quiroga, 24, glides between the tables with silver trays, but her distant eyes reveal the soul of a lost artist. She knows the melody of that hall, but prefers the silence of her own mind. Adrian Del Rio, the host and tycoon heir, raises a cut crystal goblet, the embodiment of easy power. He stands at the center, and the world revolves around him, at least for him. A dangerous smile spreads across his face when he sees the antique cello on stage, a gift he bought on a whim. Music for him is an ornament, an expensive toy to show off. He calls a waiter and, without taking his eyes off Valentina as she approaches, picks up the empty glass and tosses it into the air with an arrogant laugh. "Bet, if the waitress catches the glass without breaking it, I'll give you $500. Come on, Quiroga!" The waiter nervously watches her as she catches the crystal inches from the floor. A momentary silence falls over Del Rio's table. Valentina, breathing calmly, places the glass on the tray, dismissing the insulting offer with a look. Adrian laughs louder to disguise the flaw in his provocation, and his cruel gaze falls on the cello. He knows exactly how to hit her, how to transform her from shadow into a target for the show. Ele salta para o palco com uma agilidade teatral, resbalando a mão sobre o instrumento de madeira. 500 no, mucho mejor, escutem-me todos. Atendan, si tocar este violonchelo, lo que matará a tu lado, lo sueharido por el nombre del río. O grito de riso colectivo irrompe, brutal e alto, echando na sustentación do salão. Valentina stops, her tray pressed against her uniform. The sound of public humiliation hits her with a painful familiarity, but something inside her shifts. It's no longer about the tip or the bet. It's about the right to be seen beyond the apron. Blood rushes to her face. The sound of laughter is cut off as the room notices the change in her expression. Valentina doesn't cry, nor does she flinch. Her deep brown gaze hardens like molten metal. She stares at him, and Adrian's laughter begins to falter. The crowd hesitates. The silence begins to hurt, heavy and dense, more so than the loudest music. The tension in the room becomes almost palpable. Miami's elite caught between the tycoon's sarcasm and the waitress's unyielding dignity. The bet has been made, and the audience senses something irreversible is about to happen. The tycoon realizes his power play may have hit an unexpected snag, and a chill runs down his spine. Valentina stands still, her posture rigid, and the audience awaits her next move, fascinated by the impasse. It's a duel, and the cello is the weapon. If you like stories where dignity speaks louder, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Adrian Del Rio, sensing the audience's brief moment of discomfort, increases the volume of his performance. He picks up the cello as if it were an expensive toy and spins it around the stage, making jokes with the bow, staging a mock serenade for Valentina. His goal is clear: to transform the sacred instrument into a tool of class humiliation. The hall vibrates with sarcasm and applause from the crowd, most of whom support the tycoon. The laughter returns, louder and more cruel this time, as Adrian pretends to play, ridiculing the art. For the elite, it's just entertainment, a tasteless joke about servitude. Far from center stage in the darkest corner, a 62-year-old man observes everything with disturbing intensity. It's Gabriel Ortega, conductor of the Miami Philharmonic, a living legend with golden ears. His expression, initially one of revulsion at the show, transforms into something more complex. Valentina's name, Quiroga, whispered by the waiter who identified her, makes him visibly shiver. He remembers another Quiroga, a legendary cellist who disappeared 20 years earlier, leaving a hole in the soul of music. The coincidence of names in a service hall was too much. Valentina feels everyone's eyes on her, but keeps her gaze fixed on Adrian, who challenges her with a predatory smile. He makes a theatrical gesture, inviting her onto the stage with an exaggerated nod. The challenge is thrown down, and the humiliation is being served cold. "Come on up, Quiroga. Show everyone your hidden talent, or admit that you only know how to clean." Adrian's voice cuts through the air, and the excited audience begins to clap rhythmically. The invitation is undeniable in its cruelty, a perfect trap of power. Social pressure, the desire to see the circus burn, becomes a chorus. "Accepta! Accepta!" The audience demands that she rise, that she accept the absurd challenge, the mock marriage, or that she flee and be crushed by shame. The choice, however, is a false dilemma. Valentina looks away from Adrian and toward the cello, her lips pressed together in a tight line. The dark wood, the elegant curved shape, reminds her of a past she tried to bury. Anger mingles with the memory. Maestro Ortega clasps his hands, knowing he's about to witness either a tragedy or a miracle. He can't tear his gaze away from the young woman, trying to find traces of a face he once knew. The stage is now a sacrificial altar. Valentina Quiroga, faced with the ultimatum, doesn't say no. Her silent refusal to flee is more powerful than any scream, and she stands still, breathing deeply, fate awaiting her next move. The silence of her acceptance is deafening. The sound of the tumult in the ballroom is muffled by the carpet and thick walls of the service corridor. Valentina steps away for a moment, seeking refuge in the silence of the backstage area, her heart pounding in time with the distant applause. She leans back against the cold wall, closing her eyes. The echo of her mother's voice, a whispered melody, comes back to haunt her. Renata Quiroga, the legendary cellist whose name was synonymous with purity in music, disappeared 20 years earlier after a scandal that destroyed her. The cello was the cause of her glory and her downfall. Tears, held back by the rigid uniform, threatened to escape. Valentina, still a teenager at the time, watched her mother's world crumble. The instrument became a symbol of pain, a burden she swore never to touch. The cello is the cursed inheritance. Amidst the whirlwind of emotions, she mentally plays the notes of an old piece, a melody her mother made her practice as a child. Elegy for My Daughter. It was an unfinished piece, but the melody was the only bridge to Renata's happy memory. The memory of her mother playing, the sunlight on the polished wood, floods her mind. The elegy was the promise of a future in music that was abruptly cut short. Now, the same instrument in the hands of a tycoon was being used to mock her. Hatred for the world of wealth and power that crushed her mother's innocence ignites her. Anger turns pain into fuel, and the idea of simply ignoring the challenge becomes impossible. To run away is to allow Renata's memory to be humiliated. Valentina opens her eyes, her hesitation gone. She remembers her mother's strength, not her downfall. If the cello was the cause of her collapse, it could also be the means of redemption. It wasn't about the bet. It was about silencing the sarcasm. She straightens her uniform, the black and white fabric like armor. Each step that takes her back to the ballroom is a break with her past of denial. The weight of her family's history pushes her toward the light, toward the arena. Destiny calls to her with the sound of clapping hands demanding a performance. The same instrument that destroyed her family now beckons her, demanding she face the music and the world that despises her. Past and present collide in the heart of the Biltmore. Valentina re-enters the room, her presence firmer, more defined. She is no longer the waitress. She is the heir to a violated silence. The stage, the cello, and the magnate await. She will not retreat. Valentina's return to the hall causes an abrupt silence. The murmurs cease, and everyone turns to her. Adrian, surprised by her audacity, steps off the stage with a forced smile, but there's a glint of excitement in his eyes. The show continues, and he's in control. Ele gesticula para os convidados, silenciando o resto da conversa com comando autoritário. Silence, silence, let all of Miami hear it. She accepted the challenge. And for the honor of the Del Rio family, it won't be a private serenade. Ela se diverte como ameaça. The tycoon pulls out his phone, pretending to broadcast the moment to social media, and signals for the press, already present at the event, to focus on the stage. He wants the humiliation to go viral, a warning to all who dare challenge his authority. Valentina, trembling inside, advances toward the stage under the crystal spotlight. She stares at the cello, large and imposing, its dark wood almost cold to the touch. It's the closest instrument she's ever seen to a heart. She's not trembling with fear, but with anger and a long-buried emotion. She climbs the steps and stands beside the cello. The guests' cameras begin recording, thousands of eyes watching her every move, her every breath. Adrian, satisfeito como impacto, gesticula para ela. Go ahead, artist. Show us if you can do more than serve drinks. O tom de escárnio é ácido, mas ela o ignora. Seu foco total no instrumento e no palco que agora é seu. The event's master of ceremonies, sensing the tension, tries to intervene, but Adrien interrupts him with a wave of his hand. The tycoon has turned the foundation's celebration into his own personal power circus. No one else is allowed to speak. Valentina sits in the chair the waiter hastily placed for her. Her hand touches the bow, the weight of past and present concentrating in her fingertips. She's no longer thinking about Adrian, she's thinking about Renata. She closes her eyes, seeking stillness in the eye of the storm. The notes of the elegy, which she played only mentally, flow into her muscles. The room is completely silent, waiting for the punchline, the fiasco. The bow descends over the strings. The first note. It's not a hesitant sound. It's a pure sound, impossible for an amateur. It's the voice of a liberated soul. If your soul can't be bought, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories of overcoming. The cello doesn't echo, it resonates. It's a simple opening note, but with a depth and timbre that shocks the room. The purity of the sound spreads beneath the Biltmore's vaults, silencing the rest of the conversation and laughter. It's not a waitress playing, it's the music speaking. The audience, expecting a disaster, an off-key sound, freezes in their seats. Their sneers fade into bewilderment. The sound is undeniably professional, charged with a raw emotion that shouldn't come from someone in that uniform. In the corner, Maestro Gabriel Ortega, who was about to leave, stands up from his chair, hands on his chest. His eyes widen with shock that turns to recognition. The technique, the way she plays the vibrato, the control of the bow. He knows this school. Impossible, he mutters to himself, his breath quickening. That sound is the signature, the musical voice he'd only heard in one person, Renata Quiroga. Her playing, the passion tempered with discipline, was unmistakable. Valentina continues, the elegy's melody flowing with controlled melancholy. It's a song that speaks of loss, but also of an indomitable inner strength. She's not playing to the audience, she's talking to her mother. Adrian Del Rio, in the center of the room, tries to laugh, tries to make a mocking gesture, but no sound comes out. He's caught off guard. The cello, which he thought was an ornament, turns out to be a weapon of beauty and truth that hits him hard. The music fills every inch of the luxurious hall, exposing the vanity and superficiality of everyone there. Art cannot be bought, and truth cannot be silenced. They are forced to listen, to feel. Amidst the silence, A female voice, belonging to an older socialite who remembers the musical glory of Miami, whispers with horror and fascination to the person next to her. The phrase floats above the notes. Is she Renata Quiroga's daughter? The question has no immediate answer, but the name is like a shot in the arm. The legend, the forgotten name, awakens ghosts from the city's musical past. Maestro Ortega nods. Yes, it's her. Music doesn't lie. Renata Quiroga's legacy, shrouded in scandal and silence for 20 years, has just been reintroduced to the world by her daughter. The performance continues. Adrian Del Rio, humiliated by the turn of events, desperately tries to regain control of the room. His laughter, once omnipresent, is now impossible, stuck in his throat. He tries to move but seems paralyzed, an unwelcome spectator at his own event. Valentina doesn't look at him. She's in her own universe, where only the woodwind, the strings, and the melody exist. Each note she plays is a subtle jab at his arrogance, a silent rebuttal to the mockery that surrounded her. It's artistic revenge. The room divides. Some, moved by the unexpected beauty, lower their cameras and surrender to the music, feeling ashamed of their earlier laughter. Others, especially those closest to Adrian, squirm with fascination and embarrassment. The music not only moves, it judges. It speaks of the pain of Renata Quiroga's loss, but also of the resilience of those who serve and survive. The melody of the elegy in her hands becomes the soundtrack to a social reckoning. The tycoon, feeling the stage slip away, begins to sweat under the crystal lights. Power cannot silence the music. His reputation, built on money and contempt, is being eroded by a cello. He needs the music to stop. But Valentina plays with more vigor. The bow glides with the authority of an artist born for the instrument. The sound becomes more intense, more emotional. She's not playing. She's declaring her truth. Adrian finally moves, breaking his paralysis. His face is pale, and he advances toward the stage with heavy steps. His fury is clear, but he tries to channel it into a new challenge. He will not accept defeat. He stops beside the instrument, his face inches from hers. His labored breathing contrasts with her steady stream of air. His tone is a violent whisper, calculated to sound like an ultimatum. Stop it. You're good, waitress. I admit it. He tries to smile, failing. But let's see if you're as good as your mother. Play the piece that destroyed your mother. Play the scandal. The challenge is no longer about talent. It's about the past, about trauma. He delivers the final insult, the final card. The room holds its breath. The mention of the piece that destroyed her mother momentarily paralyzes Valentina. She lifts her head, and her gaze meets Adrian's, filled with hatred. He's managed to hit the most sensitive spot, the family trauma. Her eyes, however, fell on the cello case, which lay open beside the instrument. There was a rolled-up sheet of music, which she hadn't noticed before, on top of the velvet lining. Curiosity overcame her anger. With her left hand still gripping the neck of the cello, she reaches out with her right and picks up the folded paper. The smell of old paper and the handwriting on the cover, though slightly faded, are unmistakable to her. It's written by Renata Quiroga. The title is almost illegible, but the dedication is not. Para quien continuo mi voz en este mundo. The dedication is an emotional blow, a message from mother to daughter across time. The paper reveals the pages of an adagio, the same piece Renata was never able to complete in public, the one that became the center of the scandal that led to her downfall. Elegy for My Daughter was merely the introduction. This is the final piece. Valentina understands the meaning. Her mother not only left her a musical legacy, but a mission to play what the world never heard to its fullest, the complete truth of her art and her pain. The cello was not just an instrument, it was the key. Pain transforms into a solemn duty. Adrian's challenge becomes an invitation from fate. She is not playing for him, but for herself and for the memory of her mother. The hall becomes the place of confession. She places the sheet music on the stand, and takes a deep breath. Valentina's expression becomes serene and determined. She won't run away. She will finish what her mother started 20 years ago. Adrian, realizing the threat has failed, tries to say something, but her hand is already raising the bow. The silence of anticipation is total. Valentina raises her bow, her hand steady, and begins to play Renata Quiroga's Adagio. It's a more complex, deeper melody, the heart of her mother's tragedy. The world is finally about to hear the end of the story. The Adagio begins to flow, and its beauty and melancholy are indescribable. Renata Quiroga's music, performed by her daughter, is a voice that had been silenced by malice and envy. Now it speaks and demands attention. The entire hall is filled with absolute silence, everyone's breath held. The music speaks of confession, but also of lost innocence. It's a lament, a plea for forgiveness, and above all, a cry for justice against slander. The guests' faces change. Their initial bewilderment is replaced by empathy, and then by something stronger: guilt. They recognize the truth in the melody, the story of a woman destroyed by judgment. Adrián del Rio, still standing at the side of the stage, begins to sweat heavily. He can't take his eyes off Valentina's face. The music hits him on a personal level. It's as if the notes are speaking directly to his own cruelty. The most intense notes of the Adagio are a moral judgment. The tycoon, who wanted to humiliate the waitress, is being judged by his own audience, by the unyielding force of art. He is being unmasked. Maestro Ortega, tears streaming down his aging face, can no longer contain his emotion. He recognizes not only the school, but the very musical soul he thought he had lost forever. He places his hands in prayer. The music reaches its climax. Valentina, eyes wide and fixed, plays with passionate ferocity, unraveling the mystery of her mother's fall with every stroke of the bow. The truth is unleashed. Ortega, unable to remain silent, stammers, his voice choked but audible in the silence of the hall. It's a declaration, an acknowledgement. It's her. It's the same soul. Renata has returned. The cry of the maestro, Miami's greatest musical authority, seals the verdict. It's not just music. It's the return of a legacy. The hall erupts in a murmur, but not of mockery. It's a murmur of awe and reverence. The music continues, Renata and Valentina's revenge consummated in every pure note. If you're moved by the power of art, show your support. Subscribe to the channel and share this video. Renata Quiroga's Adagio becomes a public confession, a pardon offered to her mother's soul, and a relentless demand for justice for those who slandered her. Music is the court, and the cello is the voice of truth. Adrián del Rio, feeling his control slipping away, tries to stop the performance, reaching for his instrument. "Enough! It's enough!" he shouts, his voice loud but hollow. But the now captivated audience silences him with a chorus of shh and impatient gestures. The tycoon, accustomed to obedience, is silenced by his own guests. Power has shifted. Valentina continues playing, completely ignoring him. Adrián's previously arrogant face breaks. His expression becomes a mixture of fury and panic. He realizes he's completely lost the bet and much more. The final notes of the Adagio become a moment of collective catharsis. The shared pain of a 20-year-old injustice is released into the air, and the hall feels purified by the intensity of the music. The final note rings out, lingering for a moment before fading away. The silence that follows is deeper than any that has ever fallen in that room. The audience is shocked, moved, and transformed. Amidst the silence, a prominent socialite, known for her sharp tongue, rises from her dinner table. She doesn't applaud. She speaks in a booming voice, echoing the collective outrage. "You made us see your misery, Adrian. It was never about the music. It was about your arrogance. You're a disgrace!" O grito dela, a primeira condenação pública, quebra a aura de poder do magnata. The hall doesn't defend Adrian. The truth of the song was undeniable. The tycoon's collapse isn't physical but moral, and it's being witnessed by everyone. Valentina, still holding the bow, breathes the released emotion. She looks at Adrian, her gaze victorious, but not cruel. The music spoke for her. Adrian Del Rio's control over the hall and his own event disintegrates. He tries to shout, tries to respond to the socialite's accusation, but his voice falters, and he is no longer the dominant figure. The social hierarchy has been inverted. The reaction is immediate and chaotic. Crystal glasses crash to the floor, but no one cares. Applause erupts, not for Adrian, but for Valentina, a chorus of recognition for her talent and courage. It's a silent revolution. The champagne, which he had used as a symbol of his luxury, stains his white shirt when a waiter, accidentally or not, bumps into him. Adrian, stained and humiliated, becomes the symbol of his own defeated arrogance. The cameras, which he previously encouraged to film Valentina's humiliation, now focus on his moment of ruin. The video from the night, which was supposed to be about Del Rio's power, will become the viral story of his downfall. Valentina stands slowly, her posture straight, her dignity intact. She doesn't move, allowing the applause to wash over her, but her gaze remains fixed on the man in front of her, the man who wanted to buy her. Silence returns, forced by the anticipation of her next action. She could demand marriage, the ridiculous bet. She could ask for anything. But her answer is moral, not material. She puts down her bow and looks at Adrian. Her voice is clear and firm, charged with a moral authority that overshadows all the money in the room. It's the phrase that defines the moment. Don't come to humiliate yourself, Adrian. Come to remember that the soul cannot be bought. The phrase is an epitaph for his power, a lesson for all present. The audience absorbs the statement, and the applause intensifies, now with a deeper meaning. They applaud truth, the triumph of spirit over matter. Adrian staggers back, defeated not by a business rival, but by a melody and a waitress. The Biltmore's glow seems to fade around him. What's priceless deserves to be shared. Leave your comment on this story and subscribe to the channel. The hall, once again, falls silent. The crowd waits for the conclusion, for the lesson this unexpected moment of justice will provide. The camera flashes stop. Now, they want to hear the voice. Valentina, the waitress turned maestro of the moment, doesn't use a microphone. Her voice, trained in the discretion of service, is perfectly audible, imbued with a calmness that makes her powerful. My mother played to heal. She believed that music was a bridge, not a weapon. She pauses, her gaze sweeping around the room. The social critique is subtle, but incisive. I play so that those who serve in silence will never laugh again. It is a class's declaration of war. It is defending not only itself, but the dignity of all the invisible. The message hits the wealthier guests with uncomfortable force. They realized the cruelty of their own entertainment and the profound social injustice they had perpetuated. Maestro Gabriel Ortega, unable to contain his emotion and respect, leaves his dark corner and walks toward the stage. It is a moment of profound reverence. He approaches Valentina and, to the amazement of everyone present, kneels before her. The Miami music master bows to the waitress-turned-artist. "Teacher," he says, his voice rauque de emotion, completely ignoring Adrian. "You have returned truth to art, and you have healed an injustice." The scene is cinematic. The 62-year-old maestro at the feet of the 24-year-old. The recognition of art and dignity, transcending hierarchy. Renata Quiroga's legacy is restored. Valentina leans over and gently touches Ortega's shoulder. The gratitude between artists is mutual. That gesture is worth more than all of Del Rio's millions. The audience is on the verge of tears. The song has become a sermon, and the sermon a moment of unquestionable truth. The hall finally responds with a standing ovation. The crowd rises and deafening applause echoes throughout the Biltmore. It's not just a round of applause, it's a verdict, a moral tribunal that condemns arrogance and celebrates dignity. Tears stream down the faces of many guests, witnessing and participating in a historic moment. Cell phones, which had previously filmed the joke, now record Valentina's triumph, her social redemption. Adrian tries to shout again, his voice thick with fury and helplessness. "No, she's a scam! This woman!" But his protests are drowned out by the force of the applause and tears. No one hears him. He is a relic of the past. Valentina, standing on stage next to the conductor, radiates calm. She refuses to play the victim, but she also refuses to accept material victory. The marriage bet is still in the air, a joke that needs to be put to rest. She looks at Adrian one last time, and her smile is sharply ironic. Her final line, the rejection, is the final nail in the tycoon's coffin, delivered with elegance and humor. "Calm down, Adrian. I wouldn't marry someone who doesn't know how to listen." It's a refusal of power, of the gamble, of his world. Music is his marriage, and the cello, his partner. The audience erupts in laughter and more applause. The waitress's irony shatters the tycoon's last attempt at authority. The circus is over, and the clown is the host. The tycoon retreats, pushing past the crowd, leaving the room. He's a ruined figure, exiled by his own vanity. The name Del Rio becomes synonymous with humiliation. Valentina remains victorious and serene. The cello, which was the cause of her mother's tragedy, has become the vehicle for her own ascension. The whirlwind of emotions begins to subside, and Valentina rests her cello in its case. Maestro Ortega assists her, his hands respectful, treating the instrument with the reverence that art demands. The moment of fury transforms into a moment of peace. The crowd still applauds, now more calmly, a prolonged tribute. They're not just applauding the music, but the woman who played it, who taught them a lesson in dignity. Valentina steps down from the stage, no longer a waitress, but the artist she always was. She doesn't accept empty praise or forced excuses. She simply accepts the recognition of her art. As she walks through the door, a tall figure approaches her, a man with a major record label ID badge. His eyes shine with the vision of unexpected success. Ele estende a mão e fala rapidamente, mas com convicção. "Miss Quiroga, my name is Marco. I'm a producer at Miami Records. I need this. We have to record Adagio de Renata Quiroga tomorrow." It's her first professional offer, confirmation that her life has changed forever. The music world, which had rejected her because of her mother, is now calling her. Valentina smiles, a tired but genuine smile. She takes the card, a piece of paper worth more than the Del Rio empire. The past ends, the future begins. She leaves the Biltmore, leaving the crystal ballroom and its frivolities behind, carrying only her cello and the weightless weight of victory. The night service is over. If you believe that all art deserves to be heard, like the video and share the channel link with your friends. Outside the hotel, the Coral Gables dawn is bathed in streetlights, more honest than the Biltmore's glow. Valentina walks down the sidewalk, her cello in a heavy case, but the weight is now a badge of honor. The adrenaline from the performance subsides, and she feels tired, but a deep peace floods her. She remembers her mother's voice, the life lessons she had whispered to her, now a reality. Music is where you will always be free. The phrase echoes in her mind, and she smiles at the city lights. She no longer needs to hide in her uniform. Her freedom has been won through art. She pulls out her phone to call a taxi. The screen immediately explodes with notifications, messages, calls, and, most importantly, the icon of a video that was posted a few hours ago. The video of the night, captured by the guests' cameras, had already racked up millions of views. The title, "Waitress Silences Tycoon with Cello." The world was watching, listening, and judging the story. Adrian's downfall is public and instantaneous. Valentina's rise is a social and musical phenomenon. She didn't just win a bet, she started a social justice movement through art. She puts her phone in her pocket, her focus not on fame, but on the next note. Renata Quiroga's Adagio would be recorded, and her mother's name would be cleared, and her legacy, finally, completed. Destiny awaits her in Miami, no longer as a waitress, but as a musician. The dawn is just the preface to a new day. Days later, Miami is talking about only one thing. The story of the Ch Amber maid who, with a cello, made the world cry and dismantled the arrogance of the elite. The news is in every newspaper, and the song is on every radio station. Renata Quiroga's Adagio, recorded the following day with Maestro Ortega as producer, is a global success, a symbol of moral triumph. The 20-year scandal dissolves into a melody of purity. Adrián del Rio, unable to bear the humiliation and boycott of his own peers, sells his shares and goes into exile in a distant place. His name becomes a footnote in the Biltmore's history. Valentina Quiroga, after accepting an invitation from Ortega, officially debuts with the Miami Philharmonic. The stage that was once a place of humiliation is now the stage of her consecration. The same cello, the same audience, but a different story. She plays the complete Adagio, her mother's final piece, the elegy and the Adagio in one hymn. The emotion in the room is palpable, the sound of the cello is healing. The final note rings out, rich and full. It's not just music, it's final justice, a promise fulfilled, and the silence that follows is reverential, not contemptuous. The camera pulls away from the stage, the Biltmore, and the cello. The legacy is sealed, dignity restored. Dignity can be silent, but when it speaks, the world falls silent. If you believe in the power of your voice and the strength of your truth, like this video and share our message, don't be silent in the face of injustice. Subscribe for more inspiring stories.